It's none of the 8 minutes like we had yesterday, as we see in a problem.
Yeah, problem working on a total direct energy riders. I can't work out who that is, but quick bike change them. Is it Chris Lawless?
It looks like him in his stature. If we can zoom in and get the number, would be help. It's a back wheel change anyway. It is Chris Lawless. Well spotted, Adam.
So he's another rider today, you know, a rider that can sniff his way out to the finish a little bit and just find his way through a little bit. I think this race today especially has been concentrated more on the sprinters. You know, you've got the likes of Caleb Ewan in there, Jakobsen. We keep speaking about all the riders that can do the sprint today. Lawless is definitely one of those riders as well, and it's just about how the peloton makes it hard. Does it make it hard? Obviously Quick-Step want to keep it together, so does Lotto Soudal. It's going to be a tough job with the likes of Ineos wanting to break the race up almost.
.81 kilometres to go. 1 minute 17, and well, there is a rider joining in here from Sport Vlaanderen Baloise, and it's Jules Hester as well. I say joining in, coming back from the breakaway. Into Saint-Sauveur. .80 kilometres to go, and Edoardo Affini. In the meantime, in the breakaway, this is what it looks like. And with 80 k's to go, we're heading up the Mont Saint-Laurent. Hill number 9, 7.8% average. Look at that, though, 17%. And Adam, we've got cobbles here as well.
Good cobbles as well, and you can see how hard this is. Big wide road that opens up the road for the peloton. It's not just about positioning coming into this. This will give other riders that might have been out of position in a previous race with a narrow road onto it. This is a big wide cobble section, so more riders will be able to be at the front, more riders. That gives them more opportunities to attack. And when you look at the likes of, let's say, Jumbo-Visma, we saw Tish Benoot yesterday, what he did. He blew the race to bits in one attack. It wasn't 2, 3, 4, it was one attack. So for the likes of the riders that don't want to make it a sprint, the likes of Tish, if they decide to go on there, take a couple of riders with them, the likes of Quick-Step, Ineos, whatever it is, this is definitely a point. The likes of Trentin as well, moving up, a rider that can sprint, can get in those moves. I definitely think this is a part of the race where we might see some attacks come from within this peloton.
Look at that big, horrible valley between the concrete slabs.
Brilliant.
This is a very, very nasty bit of road. This has been described, this climb, Saint-Sauveur, as a cross between the Oude Quaremont and the Taaienberg. It's long, it's cobbled, and it's nasty. Here we go.
How did they get to that conclusion? I mean, brilliant. You can see the riders we were talking about, though, Rob. You can see Tom Pidcock on the left-hand side. You've got Matti Mohoric right in the centre, Trentin on the front, Asgreen pushing the pace on. Still a long way out, 80 k's to go, but there is not many cobbled sections or hard sections for that much longer. Another 40 k of hard ground, and then after that it's generally quite flat towards the finish. Nothing really major to deal with. So 40 k's of hard racing now in this block that they've got to come. So if we want to make it hard, if we want to split the peloton up, which Asgreen looks to be wanting to make it hard at the minute, it's a good job to do it, good point to do it.
Well, Fabio Jakobsen, in his interview overnight before this race, the preview, said that, well, he would be not just sitting and waiting for the sprint. He wanted his teammates to go and attack the race, as we see that happening. They're pulling at the front here, and it's time to get to the front, as there's a danger always on this particular terrain that it could split. As you see Asgreen, a former winner, now of course a winner of the E3 Press, and then the Ronde van Vlaanderen, up towards the front and pulling. Left-hand side, Age Desert, Citroën with a couple of riders. There's Mohoric, you've mentioned him, Colbrelli, not far away as well, in about 10th to 15th position. Right, yeah, this
this is an interesting point now. You've got all the big riders. You've got Stefan Kungu, he's on fine form. Navarus up there. Tish Benoot just on the wheel of Tosh van der Sander, his teammate. Fred Wright moving up as well. Trentin just drifting backwards. That's unusual to see. Matteo Trentin drifting back, because I don't know if he's trying to save his energy by not going too deep on the climb. He's losing a few places, but this is definitely, you can see at the back of the peloton, just distancing riders ever so slightly. Asgreen, it's very interesting Asgreen's doing this.
Jordi Meus in the green jersey slipping backwards here, and he's one of the sprinters who was maybe hoping to be involved towards the end. Off the cobble on this Mont Saint-Laurent climb. Look at that one long line, and well, we talk about the new parkour. This is a great addition to the parkour, this climb. And we've got movement. We've got movement with Tom Pidcock. Stefan Kung right on his wheel. Kesper Askreen just behind. Then Narvaez. Ineos Grenadiers really well represented. 3 of their riders in the top 7 or 8.
Very well represented indeed, and this is clear what they want to do. They want to make it hard. They want to split the race up. They don't want it to necessarily come to a sprint. There's still a lot of riders in there. If you look who's back within that, I think that's Sagan there. You've got, is it Peter Sagan? No, you've got Cobrelli in there. You've got Asgreen in there. I can't see the likes of Caleb Ewan Jakobsen at the minute, but they are wanting to put the hammer down and split the race up. Mohoric in there as well. Tish Benoot.
Tish Benoot again.
See Navarus going now on the left-hand side. Look, counter-attack straight away from Ineos again.
Jonathan Narvaez, I thought, looked brilliant yesterday, didn't he? Again, they maybe made that little tactical mistake when they let Tish Benoot go. And talking of Tish Benoot, he's trying to get around. He's trying to get involved. Ajou Dezert also doing the same. We saw them on good form yesterday.
Yeah, you see that little acceleration, though. That's Stan... I've forgotten his second name now, Stan something from AG2R. So he's gone after Narvaez here. You remember last year Narvaez did the exact same thing with Van der Poel, going this early out. So he's wanting to make a similar thing, but look how stretched out the peloton is. But as soon as Stan de Wolf, sorry, there, AG2R, went Tish Benoot on his wheel, Asgreen, then that was the thing. They don't want one rider going. They're fine with one rider. He isn't going to get anywhere. 2, 3 riders, we need to get on it straight away. So the reaction was there straight away. And that makes it clear to me what Quick-Step are trying to do. Control things, keep it together, make it hard, get rid of the... I'm going to say shrapnel. Get rid of the shrapnel. The riders that are not going to be there in the finish but might get in the way a little bit. They want the group reduced to make their lives easier to control.
Not an easy life for Jordi Meus, and if they were hoping to win in a sprint today, it's going to be a difficult task now for Bora Hansgrohe. They're going to have to look to the likes of Pollitt, maybe trying to make the race a little bit more. Pustelberger, who looked good yesterday too. For now, Ineos Grenadiers really taking it to everybody else. A couple of other jerseys, yellow jerseys, as well as Tish Benoot towards the front for Jumbo-Visma now. I was delighted to see Mike Teunissen back in action yesterday. It's been a long time since we were privileged enough to watch him in the Classics, given COVID, injuries, all sorts of stuff. It's easy to forget that he's a Tour de France stage winner and a yellow jersey wearer, Mike Teunissen.
They've definitely upped their game, haven't they, Jumbo-Visma, with all the riders there.
Ajou Dezert, Citroën. Now, we were expecting an upping of the game from them last year. After they made all the signings, they reinforced the Classics unit. It didn't happen for them, did it? They didn't really fire last spring, but they're at the front now driving this. And Adam, look at the state of this gap. It's really growing right as I speak. 48 seconds is the talk at the front. But the gap here, woof.
I think that's Van Asbrook there on the front with Nizzolo just on the left-hand side coming around him. So one of the big sprinters, the big-name sprinters in today, missing that gap there. And Ineos, this is what they wanted to do, riding hard up the climb. Get rid of the likes of Nizzolo, get rid of his team, you know, put them on the back foot, make them chase. And that is a big old gap. And you can see AG2R, as you mentioned, Rob, still on the front. Lawrence Nason there, Oliver Nason, sorry.
Well, you mentioned his brother Lawrence. I'm afraid he was taken to hospital yesterday and has a broken collarbone, it seems. But Oliver Nason looking in good form. Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne, always a good watch. Today, no different. Now then, Ben Healy, he's back. Struggled on the cobbles, didn't he? He was the first to be dropped out that front group on the way up the Saint-Laurent climb. Good to see the fans back as well, isn't it?
Brilliant. Especially Belgian fans. There's something special about them, isn't there? This is like football in England for them. It's exactly the same thing. Caleb Ewan look right towards the front on the right-hand side of your screen. Red jersey.
You mentioned football analogies there. It's been 22 years of hurt for Lotto Soudal. They haven't won this race since André Schmil did it back in 2000. They've got an awful recent record in opening weekend, and with their sort of renewing of the roster, younger team as well. We saw them in good form yesterday, as this gap is rather big. And just to mark your cards, everybody, by the way, the next climb is the Krausberg. That comes up in less than 10 kilometers time now.
Alpecin Phoenix, that looked to be on the front as well, so Malia might have missed that straight on the front. It's interesting, you've got Caleb in there, and we know he's on great form, won a great stage in Hope Var last week and did a phenomenal job for Tim Wellens in the mountains of being in a reduced group of 30 riders and splitting the peloton up through mountainous and hard terrain. So he's obviously on good form, and I think he's happy. You know, they've not put the team on the front to ride and control things. They're just happy for him to use his condition, use his form, and let him not find his own way, but not put a rider on the front. They're happy for him, and I think they're confident enough with him to be able to follow the big moves and be in that front group if it does split again.
Van den Berg is still at the front. Mas here behind. He's the oldest in the breakaway, 32 years of age, the man from Movistar. Just one win in the Mallorcan's career. Tour of Turkey stage 7 years ago, and we're back in World Championship country. Bronze. Back in Dutch-speaking country as well.
Yeah, lekker.
You do better than me on that one.
That's just the only word that I know. Oh, that is a big gap.
Interesting to see what happens here, because as you can see with Rons on the horizon, that means that the Kruisberg isn't far away.
Brian Cockard up on the right-hand side, just behind Tom Pidcock, just behind our screen. Tim Malia is in that front group, sorry, just behind Michael Gogol there in the centre from Alpecin Phoenix. So a couple of good
sprinters as well.
I've not seen Jakobsen yet, though. You can see Yves Lamport just towards the back of that group from Quick Step.
You're watching on the television. A very warm welcome back to Kuurne, Brussels Kuurne, the 74th edition of the second half of opening weekend. The sun's shining in Belgium, the wind's still blowing though, despite the pretty nice weather. And we've had a huge split in the group as we go towards Dutch-speaking territory again. We've been in Wallonia, we've been in the brand new climbs, and well, hugely impressive climb of Mont Saint-Laurent. I think we'll be seeing that one used again, with its very, very nasty cobbles. 54 seconds for what's left of the breakaway. 5 riders still remain. Van den Berg in the pink at the front. Durbridge, the Australian, in the blue behind. Van der Horn, he's in the white jersey with the navy shorts and those sort of luminous yellow bits on it. There's Dries Mas, the Spaniard, in the Movistar jersey. And second to back now, wearing 223, Arjen Levijns, the young Belgian rider from Bingoal Powell's sources. This is the first group chasing. Looking good. Looking very good, in fact. There's Bahrain Victorious, who have the oldest debutant, by the way, in the race today, Luis Leon Sanchez, racing Kuurne, Brussels Kuurne for the first time at 38 years of age. Fred Wright's looking good, though, at the front. He had a good day yesterday.
Very good indeed, and interesting with Bauhaus on his wheel. The previous shot we got, you could see Cobrelli towards the back, so looking to look after Bauhaus a little bit, you know. I think he is maybe just as fast as Cobrelli. Not sure how he'll deal with it, but you can see DSM on the front, and this is what we mean by you need to position. And even on that big climb with the group splitting, they're going to go into another climb now, which is going to be equally as hard. But the effort these guys are going to have to make, not just to catch this group, but then get in position again for the next climb, is going to be a lot harder than what it would be if they were in position on the previous climb and at the front already. So even though they've made it back, we're no doubt going to see this group split again, just because there's another climb coming up. And the riders in that front group, they're not taking it easy, but they're not wanting to be to the front. You see that V-shape forming. Riders want to sit on the wheels. They don't just want to go to the front and ride hard into it. Breakaway on the bottom foot of it now. Bottom slope.
And it's not just any climb, it's not just any old climb. This is the Kruisberg. 5.3%, maximum 10.9%. And then it turns into the Autant, sort of 2 climbs in one for a few kilometres, isn't it? Turns into the Autant at the top. And then we go towards the Knotteberg, or the Côte de Trio. After that, The Klausberg will be the final climb.
This is a good one, though, isn't it? This is a proper climb. The only problem is with this climb, it is not easy. You get off the cobbles and you want that little bit of respite. You turn right and it just carries on going for 600-700 metres, and it is awful.
So this is the bottom of the Klausberg. As you say, Adam, there's a meeting with the newer Klausberg at the top, and it turns onto the main road, that right turn, it still goes up. You get to the windmill, then the Autant, and it just doesn't stop for a while. This is one of the worst sections you can race if you're not feeling good in Flemish classic racing. This is what we see every single year in the Ronde van Vlaanderen.
Yep, it's that indeed. And it's not just the climb, as we spoke about, it's over the top of it. I remember Nicky Terpstra, when he won Tour of Flanders, he went over the top of this with Vincenzo Nibali. So it's just this sort of 10 minutes, 12 minutes really hard effort of pain that is going to be one of the hardest points of the races. Caleb Ewan,
look at how well Caleb Ewan, exactly, look at how well Caleb Ewan is dealing with this so far. In the meantime, Julius van den Berg, the second of the riders who were sent to the front by EF Education Easy Post, is falling backwards, and those who are in the break early on in the morning are stronger than the two guys who made the effort coming across.
It's a big, big effort to make, you know. They missed the breakaway and then they've got across to it, but that's taken a lot out of them. Ben Turner's doing a brilliant ride, isn't he?
They look hungry this year. I was talking off-air to one of our colleagues the other night. I just remarked that Ineos Grenadiers, with their young riders signing, problems in the meantime for Colin Joyce, fast man who won a stage in Denmark last year, making his debut at Kuurne today. But yeah, the Ineos Grenadiers, to me, they look very hungry, very strong. They look a different beast and a different animal already at the start of this year, after what seems like the last 18 months of them maybe not being anything close to the squad we know they can be.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've obviously got a lot of firepower within that group. They've got the likes of Pidcock, Olympic mountain bike champion, recently crowned world cyclocross champion, Magnus Sheffield, unbelievable form. And I think they're just absolutely, you know, trying to split this race up, create a different scenario. But when you look over your shoulder, and the one rider probably you don't want to see there is Caleb Ewan. He's right there towards the front. Brilliant, brilliant riding from him so far. But you can see the other teams are happy for Ineos to take it up. You know, they're making it hard enough. And this is Sheffield again. Look, Sheffield yesterday riding riders off his wheel, super strong. Look at the gap again.
On that sector you talked about, straight off the cobbles onto the main road, Sheffield looking around and seeing that he's doing damage. He's already brought back Julius van den Berg, and the gap has gone down now to 28 seconds, with Owaindil once more suffering a little bit out the back. The Welshman, Fredrik Dvernes, the Norwegian in the orange there, is with him. A couple of riders from Trek Segafredo just ahead, as we can see Asgreen Kung not too far behind Caleb Ewan, who still looks $1 million here.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what Sheffield did yesterday, just getting on the front and setting that super hard tempo. You can see how much it's strung out. Little gap there in between riders.
Yeah.
Looks like Stuyven that's just on the back of that, just trying to get in contact again. So it is a hard part of the course. They've got this left-hand turn here. They drop down a little bit, up a little bit again, and then it's fast roads. But
so the Kruisberg Autant and up towards Ronde van Vlaanderen country. Of course, Ronde van Vlaanderen Straat is up here. In the meantime, still oblivious to it all, still out the front. These guys. Luke Durbridge has one win in his career, by the way, in Belgium. It was the time trial in the old De Panne stage race. And they're on to the Autant here. Famous windmill just up the road. Dries Mas behind. Right in the middle, Livens, who's never won a race in his career. And Taco van der Hoorn. Most of his career wins, by the way, have come on Belgian soil. 6 of them. Of course, the most famous win he pulled off last year at the Giro d'Italia. 3rd stage, I think it was. Jens Kukulera in the front group in the pink jersey. The split looks like it's about to come together again, but there's only so long you can do this, Adam, without losing all of that power for a possible sprint, even if it does stay together at the end.
yeah, it's a tough one. We see one of the riders, Asgreen on the attack, Kung straight on his wheel, Cobrelli as well, Pidcock. It's interesting, this tactic they want to make. This is what we spoke about at the start of the show. They want to create opportunities for themselves, and then if Jacobs is there at the finish, that's brilliant. But you could just see Asgreen, you know, they didn't have a great ride yesterday. We talked about what they wanted to do. Fred Wright just looking behind, see if anyone's following, jumping with it. Tish Benoot trying to get on terms. It's a strong group that's going to get in front. You can see how ambitious Asgreen is, wanting to get a group clear, but it's just too many riders there that are aware of it.
the other thing, Adam, is that riders like Askren are running out of opportunities to make the difference on the difficulties. I know that when he went away and won this race, it was late into the race and everyone was looking around, but there was a smaller group, wasn't there? There's the famous windmill I talked about. But if you want obstacles on which to prove your power, we're running out of them, because the Auton comes to the end. We've only really got the Knokteberg and the Kleusberg left now after this. And then we've got 52 kilometres from the finish without any climbs.
Yeah, it's a long way to go without any climbs at all, and it does favour riders maybe just attacking and people wanting to sit back almost sometimes, you know, accepting it's going to be a sprint and taking an opportunity from that.
Head of the race, but for how long? 67.5 kilometres to go over the Auton.
Pidcock on the attack now as well with Stefan Kung.
Jumbo-Visma trying to get involved behind.
Look how easy sorry, Rob. Look how easy it is though behind. Riders just freewheeling on the wheel. You know, this is a good point to make it hard, and they want to keep making it hard. But the riders in that little group behind, you see how strung out is, able to just freewheel, get that little bit of recovery they need.
Well, we're not going to go up or down it, but the Alde Quadamont's just around the corner here, isn't it? Getting to spring, those famous roads back on our screens again. There's Christophe Laporte, first day of the season for him. New team, involved, nice to see him.
Really good to see him. You can see that everyone's happy with it now, just sat there relaxing, getting some food and drinks down there. There's no point in just wasting energy down this climb. And the breakaway, only 15 seconds ahead. Must be difficult being in the break, you know, just yo-yoing all the time. And is it coming back? Is it not coming back? They just need to concentrate on what they're doing. As we spoke about, there's some great firepower in here. If that peloton does ease up, slows down a little bit, the sprinters team comes to the front and try to calm things down, take control of it. That'll give those riders in that breakaway a little bit more of an opportunity. It's such a long way to go still, isn't it? I know it's not that long, but 66k to go still, and it is generally still quite a big peloton. I know that you can see the gaps here splitting between a few groups, but still a large peloton after all the action we've had.
Down the side of the newer Quadamont, they're descending now. The older Quadamont parallel just over to the right-hand side in the field. This is the stretch of road that Mathieu van der Poel had that famous crash on before he then came back a long, long way in the Tour of Flanders, didn't he?
I know.
He's had another good cyclocross winter, hasn't he, Heinrich Hausler?
I'd be interested, Rob, to see how Bahrain tackle this with the riders they have in there.
They've got a good, strong team, haven't they, in the Classics this year? A really good, strong team. I think we saw that yesterday. I thought they rode fairly well, and didn't they? Came away with that good second place for Sonny Colbrelli. But you mentioned Bauhaus. Mohoric looked good yesterday.
I think with it, when we look at it, you've got Phil Bauhaus in there who will do a sprint, a very good sprint, likes against Caleb Ewan and these kind of guys. And I just think there's that little part of it where Colbrelli is also a man that could take an opportunity if there's an attack. We saw him just on the top of the previous climb there, La Houppe, that he was right at the front and Askren swung his shoulder for him to come through and he was happy. He was like, no, I'm fine, I don't need to do this. And that screams to me that he wants to get in these moves, but he doesn't want to push them forward. You know, he's happy for it to come back together and do a sprint. He's a very fast sprinter indeed, and if he does ride for Bauhaus, he's a very good lead-out man. Very good indeed. So just putting himself in that situation, making sure he doesn't miss a move, but also in the back of his head knowing we can have it to a sprint if we need to. We're happy for it to go to a sprint.
Nata Verhooydonk is following this move in the yellow jersey. You'll all remember that brilliant performance in Gent-Wevelgem last year where he really helped Wout van Aert win his first Belgian cobbled classic.
Is that Laporte as well?
Go. 19 seconds then for the breakaway. Interesting part of the race, this. It's all getting very, very nervous now.
It's interesting. You've got six riders trying to get together at the front of the group, and then you've got the other 4 out in front. So you've got 10 riders in total if they come back together. So that's a big number, a very big number indeed for them all to work together. And it's the riders behind, the big riders that are watching and going, no, we're not going to chase that, we're not going to chase that. That's Pollitt as well by the looks of things. So a rider second in Paris-Roubaix, Tour de France stage winner. This is kind of what he did in Roubaix.
And complete freedom, given the fact that we saw that Jordi Meus was struggling off the back. By the way, the French rider for Groupama FDJ was Olivier Le Gac. He's involved third wheel there. Quick Step Alpha Vinyl. Pardon me, I'm still hesitating on the Quick Step, given the fact it was the Kuurne last year. Quick Step Alpha Vinyl. First day back at school for me, by the way, today. Quick Step Alpha Vinyl are in the chase there. They did not want to let that go. As soon as, like you say, somebody like Pollitt joins in, not really one you want to let go.
No, as someone you don't want to let go indeed. And just taking control of it again, that would be 10 riders at the front, you know, working all together to try and get to the finish line. So that's a bigger number than 4 riders and fresher riders as well. It's a big number. So Yves Lampaert getting on the front. I've not seen Jakobsen yet, though, in a while. He must be there. If Lampart's closing that down, it's for a reason. And not jumping across to it, actually closing it down with the peloton behind him. So he must be in there or thereabouts.
That could be a very good sign for Fabio Jakobsen, because if he's been that protected, that well hidden, he can't be feeling that bad. There are a couple more jerseys coming to the front now.
Asgreen
now the movement on the right-hand side, Well, he's in attacking mode, isn't he, today, Jesper Asgreen? Greg van Avermaet, left-hand side as well, never far from the front. Stuyven moves up this time after being caught last time. There's Tom Screens, who's making his debut in this race today. Latvian champion. A couple of gaps still developing. Always going to happen on these narrow roads. Ivan Garcia Cortina down there, but pretty isolated.
There's Jakobsen, Rob. There's Jakobsen. Caleb Ewan a few places in front of him. Caleb Ewan's lead-out man, Jasper de Bois, just in front of him as well. So Jakobsen is still in there, and that's why we saw Yves Lampaert doing what he needed to do. Bring that gap, keep it all together. Don't let things get out of hand. Oh, it must be horrible being these riders, just looking back and seeing them just like, are they going to catch us now or are they not going to catch us?
We're on our way. There we go. The Côte du Trio, the Knokteberg. Dan Lloyd, are you watching?
I was just about to say, this climb, guys, is Daniel Lloyd attacking the peloton. Is that Van Hooijdonk there?
Well, he had a go a moment ago, didn't he?
I was just about to say, traditionally these riders is Van Hooijdonk. So traditionally they used to ride steady up this climb. They get to the top, make things all compact, and then over the top, the front riders would absolutely boot it. But Jumbo-Visma has got different plans indeed. And as we spoke about, this is a hard part of the course, one of the hardest parts. There's not many climbs left after this. They're going to make it hard. They need to do it soon. And there is a split. There is a split. That Tish Benoot as well, 4th wheel. Asgreen second wheel chasing across.
And there's another jersey belonging to Jumbo-Visma as well in that following group turn, and another one in the next group. And we talked, I'm sure that you and Dan talked extensively yesterday about Jumbo-Visma being so strong now and renovated, brand new team really around, or an improved team around Wout van Aert, who's not here today. They're giving all their opportunities. Look at that. Tish Benoot.
That's going. It's going. Tish Benoot going again on the attack. Look at Trentin's face.
Who can follow? Who can follow? Because Tish Benoot goes. It's Dries Mas who tries, but he's not the man. He's not the man, with all respect to him, who is going to follow and going to affect this rate. Now on the left-hand side, Kuurne makes his move. On the right, as you say, Pidcock tries to go, but Tish Benoot is in the form of his life. Day 2 of the season, and Tish Benoot is flying in his new colours.
Absolutely flying. I don't think one man out in front is going to change much. That group has split behind ever so slightly. I think keeping that tempo on and splitting that group even more would have been ideal. Tish just laying down the hammer. I mean, he's, as you said, Rob, he is going like a monster at the minute, but 61k to go alone is a long, long way. If you can get other riders to join him, fantastic. Taking a bottle from one of his Swan years. And think he's not the leader of this Classics team. We saw yesterday the job he did for Wout van Aert. He's just doing it again, but in that leader role today almost.
This is Purcellberger at the back after exertions at the front yesterday. He's being dropped now. Also number 7, Jacopo Mosca begins to lose contact. And Total Energies' Edvald Boasson Hagen was 3rd from the back there and losing ground on the Knokteberg. So the Knokteberg is over with this right turn, and there's gaps there, Adam.
There is gaps there, but there's no what, everyone's on the knees, you know, everyone's not being able to just sprint over the top of it. And when you look at yesterday's race, how hard it was, the likes of Cobrelli, the guys were at the front, they'd have had to go deep yesterday. Tischman also went very deep yesterday, but he's got something special in the legs today. Diamonds in the legs, yeah. So he's got diamonds in the legs today, but you can see that there's not that straight away immediate jump, there's not that real urgency to close it down, and that's why we're getting these gap split, because the riders from yesterday's race are just a little bit knackered.
Well, they've got a new sports director as well, I must say. Martin Weynants, who was very good at these races as a rider, is now in the car for Jumbo-Visma, and you could just see that Benoit was on the radio, wasn't he, straight away. Now, Christophe Laporte in this group. This is a great situation for Jumbo-Visma, because he's one of the faster riders in this group, if not the fastest.
Yep. Definitely, indeed. You got Pidcock in now, just trying to look. You got Fred Wright, I think Stefan Kung, I think that's Navarres as well. You've got some firepower in this team. And then don't forget, you've got the likes of Taco van der Horn, Luke Durbridge, who have still been in that breakaway all day, but they're the kind of riders that they'd let go, because they wouldn't necessarily think they've been in the breakaway a long day. We'll let them go, but the kind of riders you also don't want to let go. Trentin just in the background. Tom Squeen is still in the background as well, just trying to get in contact with this group. One more rider from Jumbo-Visma. 3 riders in the front, Jumbo-Visma.
This stretch of road, gaps, riders everywhere. This is what we want to see on our tellies in the spring, as more moves are going across, with maybe alarm bells starting to ring, thinking, hang on, if I don't make this gap now, I'm not seeing the front of the race again.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. With sprint teams, Jakobsen there on the left-hand side, right in the middle of the peloton. Look, Caleb Ewan dipped in there as well. Stuyven, last year's winner.
At least 4 jerseys there from Quick Step Alpha Vinyl around Jakobsen. 5. Stibar was one of them, and we haven't seen him all day.
No, Quick Step just not on that usual form that we see them in, almost just not taking control of the race as we see them doing. But this is interesting, because all the big sprinters are generally in the group. Brian Cockard, I think Tim Malia is also in that group. So the big sprinter teams, this is the decision they have to make with a few riders in this front group. Do they chase it? Do they not chase it? Are they happy with the riders that they've got in front? Or do they say, no, we need to commit to this. This is our one leader. This is what we're going to do. And it's just that group. But also, Tish Benoot slowly coming back on the front as well now. Asgreen on the front. But that group is a little bit too big for everyone to work within.
There's a chance for it to be whittled down a bit more, though, Adam, because next up is the final climb of the day. It's the Klersberg.
Yeah, the Klersberg. How many riders? There must be 17, 18 riders in that front group. Obviously, Jumbo-Visma, 2 Movistar riders.
Garcia Cortina's one of them, I think. A lot has been expected of him, or hoped of him, since he joined that team. Little has been delivered to date. So Benoit back in the group, 58 Ks to go. What's the gap to the next group? And how long does it take for this group to get organised? You said it was a bit too big, Adam.
I think so. You can just see the riders, they're not too keen to keep pushing on, you know. No, they're not giving 100% to it. With a group that big, there'll be riders within it that want to miss a turn, that want to save energy. You know, you've got the likes of Trentin in there, very quick indeed. Stefan Kung, not the quickest, but one of the strongest, most powerful riders in the peloton. You've got Van Hooijdonk just on the back as well. So there's riders that are benefiting from being in this group. The likes, well, all of them are benefiting from it, but with so many different attributes within the group, you obviously don't want to drag a sprinter to the finish, so they're not going to give it 100% just to ride flat out on the front for nothing, with one of those riders, the likes of Trentin, still being in there. Big gap, though.
Oh, big gap. Now, what's the position of this group and who's working? That's the question. You would expect Quick Step Alpha Vinyl. Israel Premier Tech, so that means that Giacomo Nizzolo can't be too far away here.
No, you can see Jakobsen right down at the bottom of the screen, Rob. Just there, number 13, so he's in there. I've not seen Caleb Ewan just in front of him, left-hand side. Tim Malia, the 3 real big sprinters, I think 4, sorry.
26 seconds is the first official time gap we've had, and Israel Premier Tech are starting to do their work. Remember, Giacomo Nizzolo, Tom van Aspbroek, very fast finishers. Jente Biermans is in their team. They've got Ugo Uhle, a strong motor to work very hard, a new signing. Caleb Ewan halfway down, as you say.
It's good they've all stuck together within this, you know, they haven't got any riders in that front group, so they need to work hard to bring this back, and they need to do it sooner rather than later. They can't just ride with 5 of them all the way to the finish with those numbers in the front group.
So this is the front group with Tom Pidcock, 2 days out of 2, looking in good form. Nat Verhooydonk, Stefan Kung. Look at that, Mr. Ludwigsen's here as well. He's not often in these groups in the classics.
Yeah, he was in that front group yesterday in Omloop, so he's obviously on good form. A bit of confidence as well by being in that front group yesterday, again today. You see riders look not wanting to go through. Pidcock just having a look back, slowly starting to move through. Narvaez getting back on his wheel. It's interesting Jumbo-Visma aren't committing to this. You know, 3 riders in that front group, but not wanting to really pull too hard through. I think this group suits them more than having a big peloton there.
Yeah, I mean, Christophe Laporte, let's be honest, he's a top sprinter, isn't he? But on 90 times out of 100, or even 99 times out of 100, he doesn't beat Caleb Ewan and Fabio Jakobsen in a sprint to the line, does he?
No, they don't as well. But you've got the likes of Trentin in there as well. You know, he's a very, very fast finisher, a strong sprinter as well, a guy that will, I think, do a lot better in that kind of group that's been hard than in a super fast bunch sprint. So they don't want to necessarily just ride on the front, extend the gap with just riding Trentin towards a finish, basically. But their odds at the minute of getting a result, I think, within this group are better than what they would be from being in the peloton. So they need to weigh up the options of, we're going to ride hard within this group to try and keep it away, to try and get the best result, or we try and attack, don't ride, and then it might all come back together. There's so many options to why riders are riding, why they're not riding. Fred Wright again from Bahrain as well, doing a brilliant ride. 2nd day on the road, being right at the front of the yesterday in Omloop, again today.
He's in the red jersey towards the back. That is a remarkable weekend performance, whatever happens from here to the finish from Fred Wright. Well played. Seems to get better and better and better. Constant progression for the young Brit. Asher Desert Citroën have presence in this group, and it's Damien Touzé, in fact, 56. You mentioned Squinch, debut in Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne for him. 166 Trentin towards the back, the old campaigner. I wonder how his confidence is at the start this year, because it would have taken a beating at the end of last year, where he seemed to keep getting himself in great positions, away in breaks of 2 or 3, and surprisingly being beaten in the late Italian classics when you expect him to be the fastest.
Yeah, now the Kloisberg. This is the last climb on the course for the likes of Tiespanut. We saw him disappear up the road on the last climb. This is the last hardest point on the road in terms of terrain they've got. You might be able to get away on other parts of it due to tactics, etc. But this is the last hardest point of actual terrain on this route. So if we're going to see attacks again, maybe this group whittled down, we're probably going to see him here. But it's who is going to come with you against such a strong group that's chasing you. Yves Lampaert going backwards again. Not having a good time with the quick step at the minute. Steve, oh, sorry, apologies.
It's the 13th and final classified climb of the day. The Kloisberg on the left-hand side. We're seeing Tom Pidcock go yet again. Just behind him, right on the wheel, Tish Benoot having another go. Casper Aschrein is right up there. Ivan Garcia Cortina is just starting to show himself at the front for Movistar. And Stefan Kung, white jersey, blue shorts. He was in great form in the Algarve. Dion Smith down there as well, not far away. In fact, I think that's Durbridge, pardon me, who's at the back there in the original group.
Look at Trentin, look, just fighting to hang on there. Aschrein's doing well, considering yesterday the ride he had. I don't think he's in top form yet. Just hanging on the original rider from the first breakaway of the day. Getting distanced. Oh,
Dries Mas. He's one of the riders who's been around as a solid ruler for a long time, hasn't he, for Movistar? And, well, he's done his job if he's tried to help and protect the man who's in there now for them, who's Ivan Garcia Cortina, meant to be their finisher, isn't he? Garcia Cortina. We'll see if he can finish for once in his new colours. Now then, Fabio Jakobsen, left-hand side.
Seneschal,
pardon me. Not the first time I've done that today, sorry, Adam.
It's all right, you're on your first day, Rob, it's fine.
We did see, for those who've been away and watching on the television who were at the commercial break, we did see Stibar going backwards, didn't we, a moment ago?
Yeah, we did. And that gap, you can even just see the difference in speed on the climb there, like that peloton just spread across the road and the breakaway going up it in one line and the riders just hanging on the back for grim death, trying to keep up with the acceleration from Pidcock, whereas the peloton, look, he's gone up 10, 15 seconds just in the space of 200 metres, basically, for these riders. So it's going to be hard to bring these riders back. This is why I love this race. Love it.
It's just a great weekend, isn't it? You know that spring's here.
Yeah.
Whether it's good weather or bad. I mean, often we get pretty filthy weather, don't we, for these races? And in the last 10 years, this race actually has been cancelled because of filthy weather. Yeah. That's how bad it can get in this part of the world. But just to see these roads again, crisscrossing the Flemish Ardennes, it's absolutely brilliant. And this year, with everything that's gone on in the last couple of years, of course, neglected to comment on what's going on now. But it's just great to see the supporters on the side of the road as well. Absolutely brilliant. The race returns to its people. Stefan Kung. So strong, isn't he, at the moment?
Flying. Absolutely flying.
Really impressed by the way he was climbing as well in the Algarve. So Van Hooijdonk down at the back there. Touzé, we mentioned, the rider from Age Desert Citroën. Taco for the Horn still in here. That's the group. What are we, 20 riders? Just under.
The likes of Quickstep now, you know, you've got Asgreen in there, one of the very strong riders, obviously, won Tour of Flanders, etc. Super, super strong indeed. But for Quickstep now, you know, they've lost Stibar by the looks of things. He's got Jakobsen within that group. Are they going to ride on the front? Lotto Soudal, not any riders within that front group. Have they got any firepower within this group behind to chase? The gap's gone up on that last climb.
Well, they lost a few of their lieutenants earlier on, Lotto Soudal, so a few riders being dropped. The likes of Grignard was in trouble. Arnaud Delis, one of their young, exceptionally talented sprinters, 19 years of age. He was being dropped a little earlier on, as we now see Israel Premier Tech trying to commit to this for Giacomo Nizzolo.
Alexander Kristoff as well, sat third wheel from Wanty Group there. European champion, ex-European champion, should I say. Bahrain as well, you know, they've got, you can see there, Heinrich Hausler just sat behind a little bit. They've only got Fred Wright within that front group. Sonny Cobrelli, I've not seen him in a while, obviously feeling it after yesterday, but these teams that are not necessarily represented in this front group, all that are represented, not being the fastest sprinter maybe, or their main bet for today, that's what they have to weigh up now. Are they going to ride on the front? Are they going to try and pull this back? Trentin's an interesting one as well. UAE, obviously, we know how quick he is, we know how strong he is. You can see him on the front just trying to extend that gap. This is a better situation for him. He's obviously in good form, but how much has it taken out of him yesterday's ride to what he's going to do at the finish today?
So 17 riders in there then. Who will he be wary of, Trentin? I mean, I'm looking straight away down. I can think Pidcock's got a fast finish, as has Laporte, obviously.
If it comes from this group, it's not going to be a sprint finish within this group. It's going to split up again. It has to. There's not enough sprinters within this. So it's attacking riders and it's just picking which one you're going to go with, and you might make that move. So it's not, I just cannot see it happening, a sprint.
There has to be some organisation though here, doesn't there? Unless it's going to break up now, this group, because there's still 50Ks to ride at.
Yeah, it's a long way to the finish, a really long way, and they need that cohesion between them to be able to get together and ride together, to commit to doing that. But obviously with the likes of Trentin in there, a couple of other fast guys, Tish Benoit, he obviously has to go into attack. He's got no sprint, so he needs to make it hard. He needs to pick his moment to attack, and that's what you have to be wary of. You can't do too much work on the front just trying to make it hard. You need to look after yourself a bit and make sure you're in the right place, make sure you save energy. But you can see Asgreen, look, we mentioned this. Is he happy? Is Quickstep happy with it? And he's obviously not. He's not bothered about it. He doesn't want this group to ride on the front. He knows that he's probably not the strongest rider in this group that can deliver a good result. Trentin, again, we spoke about how much better a situation is for him. So he wants to keep this group rolling.
It looks to be Kevin Vauquelin, who's just behind him. French rider from Arkea Samsic. As we cross, what I think looks like the River Schelde, of Scheldeprijs fame. This is Nata for Hooijdonk, left-hand side then. Christophe Laporte is in his brand new colours, new teammate, the Frenchman who's moved to Jumbo-Visma. Ludvigsson, left-hand side. Then comes Jonathan Narvaez, who's a really interesting rider, isn't he? We talked, I think, quite a few years now about where is the first big South American, Latin American cobbled classic star going to come from? And everybody's thought straight away, Fernando Gaviria. He's run in Belgian teams, he's lived in Belgium, he's a fast finisher, but he keeps having this awful luck. Jonathan Narvaez, you just take a look at him, and take a look too at Lotto Soudal and the likes of Frison starting to do their work. They're Fenix working for Caleb Ewan.
Alpecin Fenix coming to the front as well, so there's enough teams, 3 teams, Alpecin Fenix, Lotto Soudal, Israel Startup Nation, they're all come towards the front. And look, Caleb Ewan just sat behind Michael Gogol there from Alpecin, so there's definitely enough firepower within this group to bring this group, the front group, back.
And already it's reflected in the gap, down to 45 seconds now. And I know they've been having a bit of go at each other, instigated by Trentin, because he's probably unhappy about the composition and the focus of the group. There's one more obstacle to come, and that is a short section of cobbles when we get to Kortrijk. That's the Beerbosstraat, just 500 metres long. But if you know these roads, and I know it can sound a bit like a stock record saying this every time we watch the classics, if you know these roads, it's such a good advantage, isn't it?
Oh, monumental, yeah. If you know where the wind's going to come after it, etc., you can make a massive, massive difference.
The hills are done and dusted. Only one short cobble sector remains once we get into the town of Kortrijk. And then it's racing around really familiar roads. Kuurne, Harelbeke. And a loop around the finish, 12.5 kilometres. We'll take in the wind exposed from all sides, and we know it's blowing today. Those narrow roads, very interesting corners that seem to spring up on you. And these Belgian betonweg roads, the concrete slabs. Anything can still happen here as Tish Benoot tries to ride, and it looks as though Jumbo-Visma have decided that this is their best opportunity now.
Yeah, I think so. You know, you got Laporte there in second wheel who just let that wheel go. He doesn't want to chase it. I don't know why. Why would you let your teammate's wheel go? It's only going to make life harder for him. You're only going to slow the group down. For them, this is the best situation they can have. They can have 2 riders on the attack, and then Laporte can sit there and almost wait, you know, but don't let wheels go, don't let gaps go, don't make it harder for your own teammate and necessarily then make it harder for himself. So I think out of the situations they could have, this is definitely the best situation they could have. 3 riders in the front, 2 to go on the attack, and 1 to sit there and wait for the sprint. They need to commit to this in my eyes.
17 riders still in this group, and well, maybe just they're trying to shed a bit of the dead wood here. Make it a smaller group, get themselves working together, because I think in this present situation, you look at it, there's no cohesion, is there? Not everybody's taking their turn. There's riders we've not seen at the front, and if that continues, what we've seen behind, you know, we've watched enough bike races, you've ridden more than enough, Adam, to know that it's going to come back, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I think so, but I'm not sure. This group, although it doesn't look like it's working that well together, they will be working well enough. They'll still be going fast enough. It just doesn't look that quick when we look back at the peloton. But see Tish Benoot just wanting to ride through again. The problem is with all this, each team needs to weigh up their options, okay? So you need to weigh up, is this the best possible chance for us to get a result here? So for the likes of Jumbo-Visma, yes, I'd say this is the best possible chance for them to get a result. For the likes of, I don't know, FDJ, is this the best possible chance to get a result? There's a lot of quick people in here, but it might be, yes, the best possible chance. Tom Pidcock for his team. Is Ethan Hayter in that front group? Can he get himself to the front? They've got 2 riders in there, both very similar and very quick riders. Yes, it's probably a better chance for them to get a result than if you look at Fred Wright from Bahrain Victorious, no, that's not their best chance to get to result. We've got Bauhaus and Cobrelli behind, so why would he work? You've got Luke Durbridge being in the break all day. Ivan Cortina, yes, he could probably have a good sprint within the peloton, but there's less riders to sprint against here. Obviously, there'll be attacks coming in, he needs to follow them, but the odds for riders getting a better result within this front group, I feel are better, bar a few, than being in a full peloton. So why wouldn't you commit to it, or just commit a little bit, you know? Don't miss turns, don't try and slow it down. The likes of Phil Bauhaus, yeah, go for it. But the other riders, especially Jumbo-Visma, they need to commit to it.
Let's see then how it develops. Let's see if they can get organised enough to hold off what we saw happening behind, which was organisation and collaboration between 3 or 4 of the biggest sprint teams on the planet. Lotto Soudal, Alpecin Fenix were working. Let's see how it happens. And, well, as I said, with Lotto Soudal, 22 long years since they last won this race with André Schmil. 20 years since they last won yesterday's race. And after yesterday, it'll be 20 years in counting. Jumbo-Visma, you've mentioned them, 3 riders in the front. Pressure's off for them. No pressure on at all after what they did yesterday. It's a bonus if they can do it again here.
Yeah, with Jumbo-Visma, there's almost no pressure, Rob, but there is also a massive amount of pressure for the group they're in. 3 riders in a group of 17. They need to keep this away. Who have they got in the back group that can do something? In this peloton, who have they got that can do something? When you look in this back group, okay, they're going to ride for a sprint, but at the same time, you know, you've got Mohoric in this group. He could attack. You know, there's so many variables that could happen. I just think if you're in that front group, it's a better place to be.
Luis Leon Sanchez up towards the front for Bahrain Victorious there. I mentioned making his debut at 38 years of age in Kuurne, Brussels-Kuurne. Cofidis start to add a man in as well. 38 seconds, it started to come down this, and we know that Cofidis have one of the men in form, don't they, in the shape of Brian Coca. There's Merlier in about 15th wheel, just in front of Sonny Colbrelli.
I mean, the amount of riders within this back group that could get a result it's massive. There's so many of them. That's why
you can see with how many teams are contributing now.
You wouldn't. Why would, if you're in that front group, why would you want to bring this? Why would you want them to rejoin you? There's just no chance unless you're Fred Wright, unless you maybe Squeens. You know, why would you want them to rejoin you? Asgreen as well. You know, you got Jakobsen in there. Why would you want them to join you? For the other riders, come on, you keep this away.
They do look a little bit more organised now, don't they, than they did 5 minutes ago. But still not every single rider is riding. And for the reasons you just explained, I'm looking at Fred Wright towards the back. There is no reason for him to contribute whatsoever.
Perfect situation for him, though. If this does stay away, he's had a free ride. There's no pressure, Fred, mate, but, you know, you're getting a free ride here.
Asgreen, looking around, is doing his best to try and get everybody to contribute. He's making sure he's watching them all come through. Remember, he's a former winner of this race. He's also going back to the team car now, maybe for a chat. Certainly for some sustenance. 32 seconds, it was 45, remember, Adam. So what we just saw happening behind is definitely, well, he's not going to have a chat because there's no car in there, of course, at 30 seconds. He's just going to get some drink from the car. And look, the wind's starting to play a point as well. They're across the road here.
The wind is starting to play a part. And also, when this, I think if this gap keeps coming down as it is doing, then we're going to get maybe attacks from that front group when they know they're getting closer. They know there's not that cohesion within the riders at the front. Then we'll start to get the attacks go. Then it's a stop-start, and that's not what they want, because ultimately there's going to be a slowdown, a speed up, and that group is just going to be constantly closing in as they are doing now. They need to work all collectively to try and keep the gap as big as it is, if not bigger.
It's always funny, isn't it, when you see riders who've been around for a long time pull on a brand new kit, and Luis Leon Sanchez, a new signing for Bahrain Victorious and racing in this Cobble Classics as well. A bit like looking at Christophe Laporte here in a yellow jersey too. There's Ludvigsen on the right-hand side. Narvaez and Pidcock. 28 seconds. They continue to lose second by second with still 42 kilometres to ride.
Yeah, that gap is trickling down, isn't it? More and more and more. There's only 6 or 7 riders within this front group that are actually working together. 2 Ineos riders on the front, Kung, Van Hooijdonk, Trentin.
Good day for the likes of Horn and Durbridge, Levains as well. Well done for staying up there and staying out the front, still contributing. The original breakaway of the day, remember. What is a sun-drenched afternoon on the second to last day of February in Flanders. If you're watching on the telly, you're off for a very quick commercial break, but make sure you keep it with us here at Kuurne, Brussels-Kuurne. Lotto Soudal looking to try and get off to a good start. Now, one of the teams who has to keep an eye, by the way, on the promotion and relegation battle this year. They need UCI points.
Yeah.
That's something that I think we'll talk about as the season drags on and we start to see maybe trends happening. I know that Ajaccio yet to win. You know, DSM are yet to win. We will see how that pulls out. And the likes of Alpecin Phoenix and Arkea are going well. They're the teams who are trying to be promoted, if you like, into world team status, to the World Tour. As Christophe Laporte, who's moved across from one world team to another. Cofidis now representing the team in yellow, Jumbo-Visma. Tish Benoot, I think we can see straight away it's been a great move for him, even though it's just the second day of racing for him. Even in his interviews, he sounded happier away from DSM and at Jumbo-Visma.
I mean, the confidence he must have taken from yesterday, I think we've seen it today already, haven't we? You know, going on the attack, splitting this race up again, and it was him and Van Hooijdonk that split this race once again. He did the same thing yesterday, split the race into bits, just not single-handedly, but, you know, not far off. You have to remember, if he was in another team, the likes of still in DSM, he'd be the leader of the Classics team, and now he's not the leader. He's obviously a very, very good helper, but he's got another rider that I think it's fair to say is better than him, and it's Wout van Aert, and it's scary, you know, when you know you've got that firepower within a team.
The luxury of leaving out Wout van Aert today after his victory yesterday on day number one. And, well, in true Wout van Aert style, he just got rid of all the records and sequences, didn't he? He was the first winner of Omloop het Nieuwsblad in 42 years who hadn't ridden the previous race in the previous. So, yeah, a few sequences went tumbling yesterday thanks to Mr. Van Aert. So 26 seconds. Let's have a look at that gap. Oh, doesn't look much on the telly picture there, does it?
No, and I think when this front group sees that, realises it, that's when we might start to get a few attacks come. You know, a lot of riders going, we're going to be caught, we're not going to do this. And then the other riders go, you know what, let's go again, let's try again. And it's the riders within this chasing group, you know, who's been riding on the front, how much firepower have they got left to control things once this comes back together. Caleb Ewan right towards the front, look, his teammates Lotto Soudal, one of them riding, Standerwolf sat in front of Caleb Ewan. Jakobsen we still think is within that group.
The sun-drenched Belgian countryside. Yes, it's February. It's Kuurne, Brussels-Kuurne, but we're still seeing the same great racing. Group away here of 17 riders, including 3 from Jumbo-Visma. Tish Benoot, with this man at the front, Christophe Laporte, another new signing, and Nathan van Hooijdonk, who was so instrumental last year in helping Wout van Aert win Gent-Wevelgem, is just about to come to the front. But also here, Kisper Asgreen, third wheel now, blue and white jersey for Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl, former winner of this race, with Pidcock, Narvaez, Van der Hoorn, Touzé, Wright, Kung, Ludvigsen, Garcia Cortina, Durbridge, Trentin, Vokuna, Squinch and Levains. But they've gone from having 45 seconds of a gap to just 22 seconds now, with 38 kilometres to go. Behind, sprinters teams getting very, very excited, piling all of their firepower in to try and chase this group down. And I think we're seeing the first few signs now that not everybody believes anymore, Adam Blythe.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's going to become a point where within this group you saw Asquith just roll into the front, and all he'll be doing is just knocking off that tempo a little bit, you know. He's not ducked down low on his handlebars. You can see him just rolling through here. He will just roll through nice and steady. Look, no rush whatsoever. I'll just slow this down. You can see them freewheeling behind. That just shows, you know, they're not fully committed to this. He wants them to get caught. They've got Jakobsen in there. He probably knows he's not got the best legs to follow everything that he possibly can do.
Meanwhile, behind, Cofidis for Brian Coquard. Lotto Soudal trying to help Caleb Ewan. There's Luis Leon Sanchez in the red jersey of Bahrain Victorious, trying to ride for either Sonny Colbrelli or Phil Bauhaus. And Alpecin Fenix are supporting Tim Merlier, the former Belgian champion. Just a few of the number of sprint teams. Now Cortina. Then, Garcia Cortina. And that's no surprise, I guess, if you had to place a bet on somebody, Adam. There's no one else from Movistar behind who is going to win this race.
No, no one at all. And, you know, this is the right thing to do. Try and get that gap going. Asquith reacting to it already. Look, the problem is with that, he wants to be in this front group. Typical quick step move. Try and get ahead of it. Try and get in front so you've always got the upper hand. If that group goes away there and he's in there, he can just sit on and go, you know what, I've got Jakobsen behind. I don't need to follow that. But when he's in that, he's not going to help. So he's just neutralising this group. And you can already see how much it's splitting just through that one single attack of Cortina.
There's the little splits. 2 or 3 bike races as Kismet Asquith wonders about closing or not. 16 seconds now. 36.4 kilometres to go. If you're tuning in late, you've missed the climbing action today. 13 climbs, several new ones. I said the most impressive of which looked to be the Mont Saint-Laurent. Horrible, horrible cobbles there, and that's where the race really did start to come alive. No Al de Quaremont in this particular race anymore. We will see that in the coming weeks, won't we, as we head. Well, we're first going to head to Paris-Nice, Tirreno Adriatico, then to San Remo, and then returning to Flanders for more of those semi-classics and classics. 19 seconds now as Garcia Cortina. Long tip to be Spain's next best thing in the classics, and they haven't exactly had a wealth of luxury in this department for a long few years. Juan Antonio Fletcher, as we see the gap growing bigger now, and maybe, of course...
And a split, Rob, sorry, and a split look behind. I think that's Pidcock in that back group, one of the Jumbo-Visma riders as well. So there is a split within this group now as well, which isn't ideal for Jumbo-Visma, the motorbike rider, just getting in the way ever so slightly. Yeah, Pidcock's gone and Laporte has gone from that group. So teammates and onto cobblestones as well. Beautiful.
On Narvaez in this group, looking behind, looking for Pidcock. That's Vauquelin who's just been distanced. Trentin trying to come across now with Nathan Verhooydonk onto the Beerbosstraat, just outside of Kortrijk. And this is the last difficulty on paper, at least, of the day. And Trentin continues to motor on. He's got Taco van der Hoorn on his wheel. This is where it starts to kick off again. And we're going to get the latest incarnation of our group at the front.
Taco van der Hoorn doing a brilliant ride, isn't he? In that early break all day long, and he's still on the wheel of Trentin. And Trentin did this last year, exactly the same spot. He did it exactly the same. So Fred Wright looks second wheel behind that rider. Trentin trying to push on, 34 Ks to go. They need more riders than just 2 of them. Tish Benoot now responding to these 2 rides. They can't have a Jumbo-Visma rider miss this.
Well, this is Pidcock, as you mentioned. He's with Durbridge.
This is surprising.
Laporte.
Oh, no, that's Benoot.
This is Benoot.
Sorry,
yep,
apologies, apologies.
Benoot now on the radio in this group, so Benoot no longer involved. Pidcock, I think, is probably now going to be caught by the peloton, we should imagine. But he's going to try and make one more dart through. Let's see what happens through the feed zone here.
The world's narrowest feed zone by the looks of things there.
I was going to say that the Soigneurs were making that much narrower than it needed to be, aren't they?
Yep. Trentin giving this everything. You see Fred Wright's moved to the front. He's had that easier ride. Taco van der Hoorn, exactly the same, being sat on the back. Obviously, he's been out all day, so he's going to have a little bit tired. But just that recovery for 10 minutes, sitting in the wheels. Van der Hoorn
is so good at this, though, isn't he? This is his thing, surviving, getting out in an early break and surprising us all at the end of the day. He's done it at the Giro. He did it at the Bink Bank Tour last year as well. This is his speciality, if you like. He suffers a long, long time. Stays aero. It's not always pretty, is it? But he stays aero. He's got those silly narrow handlebars, but it all works for him. He says a what here and there, and then he's stronger towards the end. Now, this is Vauquelin, I think.
It's interesting this part as well, where Trentin attacks there. He's obviously sped up a little bit. I don't think there'll be attacks within the peloton, because why would you attack when 3 sprint teams are riding? So their pace will have dropped down ever so slightly on it. So what Trentin did is just extended that lead through the acceleration, but naturally as well, the peloton on that cobble section will have slowed down a bit. They're happy to leave it to these sprint teams riding. There isn't going to be that urge. It'll be a constant pace still.
So Benoot, Pidcock and Durbridge are retaken by the peloton. 33 seconds now as we have our new situation. The lone rider we saw in the red a moment ago was Kevin Vauquelin, French rider from Arkea Samsic, 20-year-old from Bayeux.
Oh, 35 seconds again, look.
Amazing how it changes. There is the man I talked about on the left-hand side there after doing his turn. Woken up in this group again now. He's a real clever rider, is Taco Forderhorn. So the list on your screen, now 12 riders. Trentin getting stronger as the race goes on. And now then, movement from Livains, another rider who's done a great ride today. I have to say, he was in that breakaway, wasn't he, earlier on? 27 years of age, and he'll know these roads. He's from Warakim, just down the road.
Yeah, look at the riders who are happy to sit on as well at the minute. You've got Fred Wright, obviously, he's been sat on. He doesn't need to go to the front. Even Cortini was one of the first to attack. And then Stefan Kung, obviously a little bit gassed, sitting towards the back of the group. Thomas Squeens, Navarres now on his own without Pidcock in there, sitting at the back, just waiting for that opportunity to follow a move if he needs to.
So Vauquelin on debut in opening weekend. In the red jersey there is going to be the next to be caught. It's a furious chase now from Alpecin Phoenix. Interesting that Israel Premier Tech have just taken their foot off the gas a little bit. I wonder whether they were maybe running out of helpers. Maybe having done that as they saw it coming back together with the new situation. Who knows? It's great to watch though. A fascinating, fascinating race. And I give you your dues here, Adam. We switched on, had a quick chat about an hour before we came to air today. You said, no, I prefer Kuurne. Oh, it's my favourite race, this. It's always interesting to the end. You can never doubt that.
I think that's the thing with it. It's always interesting, and the outcome is never what... Well, it is what we expect. But it's just, sorry, I was just looking at Trentin there on the front. It's always what we expect, but there's just that this is what always happens, and it's not necessarily always within that one certain place. It opens up again, and it's just these... There's a lot of riders from yesterday who would have missed something just with bad positioning, mechanicals or something. So they go into this race, all guns blazing. We need to do something. We need to make the most of today. And that's when we get this extra added aggression without riding with caution. They go all out into it, and I absolutely love it. And it's the terrain that suits so many different aspects of a bike rider. Sprinters, we've got sprinters trying to chase behind. We've got a couple of fast men in this front group. We've got strong men in the front group. It's just a race that can go both ways. More necessarily goes towards, I'm saying that towards sprint, not always, but it can go both ways, sprint or breakaway. So this is why I love it.
Well, this is the chase behind, 38 seconds. It's those in the break who are winning the battle at the moment. Driven on by Matteo Trentin, and he's got something special to aim for. He's won a lot, hasn't he, in his career? He's won some really big races, Grand Tour stages, things like that. But he's never, ever won a Flemish Spring Classic.
Taco Tuesdays, look, you can't give him space. You cannot give him space. If he gets a little bit of space, a little bit too much, he's going to be a very hard rider to bring back. We've seen what he's done in the past. You mentioned it, Rob, you know, just gets his way into his moves, likes it hard, just escapes off the front, and then wallop. He's got 15 seconds.
This is the chase, 35 seconds behind, being led by Luis Leon Sanchez, now of Bahrain victorious. Hayter's been moved up, hasn't he, now for Ineos
I don't think
Grenadiers.
that's Hayter, Rob. I don't think it's Hayter. I think that's Magnus Sheffield or the German rider. They've got that on the team there. Hajduk, yeah. I think Hayter is wearing black overshoes. Just there, you see Ben Turner in the middle of the screen. He's just sat in front of him, about 30th, 35th position. Moving up, but oh la 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 la.
This is certainly Stefan Kung, and there's a gap there between Squinch and Garcia Cortina, who's lost the wheel. Livains not far away behind as well. Look at Taco van der Hoorn. He's enjoying it so much he's smiling.
This is interesting though, Rob. Look, Christophe Laporte doesn't want to chase it immediately, and he's tired. He lets the other riders do it. Oh, Asgreen going straight over the top.
Well, he's strong. He was last spring's superstar, wasn't he? Winning the Edripres, winning the Ronde van Vlaanderen. He's won this a couple of years ago. Is it going to be a hat-trick of Danish wins? He's followed now by Fred Wright with Nathan Verhooydonk there on his wheel. Trentin is there, and then there's a real tired-looking, for the first time in a while, Stefan Kung behind. I think it's certain today, having to grit his teeth at Garcia Cortina. I'm not sure, because he lost the wheel before. He's losing the wheel again, and Garcia Cortina's suffering here.
Yeah, suffering a lot as well. You just saw that acceleration from Asgreen. He's waiting for the hard parts of the course to whittle down this group again. The way he's riding is on the flat. He's accepting. If it comes back, it comes back. But if there's an opportunity with just the terrain run, if I can make it hard, split this group down again, I'm going to take that opportunity. He's done so. He's got rid of one more. And Trentin straight over the top again. Fred Wright again just rolling through. He's not having to do too much work because obviously his team is riding behind, just covering the moves.
Giving each other a kicking already, aren't they? 28.5 kilometres to go. He wants some company, though, here, and he's just asking the question.
Kung responding now. Kung responding. He was not going flat out. You can tell by his body language. He's not going flat out. He wants someone to come across to him. He can't do 28k on his own. Kung responding. Van Hooydonk behind him. Asgreen again. Narvaez. Sorry, Narvaez.
It's all right, we'll get there. Muy bien, Alan. Former Ecuadorian national champion. Again, a man who's ridden for a Belgian team as well. Let's not forget it, right at the start of all of this, he was on Quick Step, wasn't he?
Yep.
Now Garcia Cortina suffering, trying to get back into a place where he feels better. Hasn't given up. 39 seconds become 40 seconds. Oh. Big seesaw on the gap as Garcia Cortina's so tired he can't see where he's going.
Yeah, you see that gap to come out again, 39 seconds now. That's through the acceleration. There's going to be another lull again now as all the riders in that front group look at each other. They calm down a little bit, get ready for that next attack, and that's when we'll see this gap start to tumble down again. It's just on a yo-yo string at the minute. No one wants to commit to doing anything. They want to try and get away within a small group, split it to 3-4 riders so they can properly commit to it. But still, that front group, for the riders within it, for some reason, they think it's too big. If they all commit to staying away, they probably will do, but they don't want to take Trent into the line. They don't want to take Narvaez to the line.
Yeah, Narvaez a fast finisher himself. 4 wins in his career, of course, including that stage in the Giro d'Italia, one for the breakaway. Now then, Garcia Cortina is back on. Whatever happens, well played, because he was clearly not feeling so good a moment ago. He's gritted his teeth, he's back on the man from the north of Spain. And this is Damien Touzé, another up-and-coming solid rider, 25 now, from Yville. Former winner of the Tour of Brittany when he was an amateur still. Yet to win amongst the professionals, though. Fast finish.
You can just see, look, everybody looking at each other, wanting another rider to do the work. Trentin trying to get the other riders to come through. You've got the likes of Screens, who was just off the back on that last previous climb where Asgreen accelerating. This Laporte, look, just noticing that gap a little bit, trying to string things out. Asgreen's going, no, I'm not going to chase that then. I'll leave it to Narvaez. You've got Taco van der Hoorn just sat on the wheel, just trying to look for that move once again.
I thought about Taco van der Hoorn being an intelligent racer.
There's
lots of intelligent racers in this group, aren't there? Trentin, as you mentioned, one of those. Asgreen, I think, uses his power really, really well, doesn't he? He's won the races he's won by being clever.
He has done, but he's putting his nose in the wind too much. He's showing he's already strong and just responding to these moves straight away. He knows, all the riders within this group knows that he will try to respond to that. He can't let this go. So if there's an attacker who just seen through Trentin, Laporte out the front, they've already just looked straight to Asgreen to do the work, and he's happy to do it, but how long can he keep doing this for? Look, the flick of the elbow, trying to get Kung to roll through. He's got Kung to roll through. Screens coming into a corner, suffering a little bit. Van Hooydonk behind him, he'll close that gap.
Christophe Laporte coming into the prime of his career now as they go wide. It's a long, long corner. Look at the state of this as cars parked in the middle of the road. Welcome back to Belgium, I guess.
All disqualified, look, on the pavement.
It's difficult to stay off the bike path there, you'd have to say.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
I know we don't want it, certainly with the cars parked. I mean, I worry for the peloton coming through in a moment, in just a few seconds. Probably best to look away now, if you would.
You can just see that gap. Laporte just pressing on still. They're not closing it down immediately.
Well, here's what happened again, Adam. Look at the state of this corner.
Coming in hot.
How do you do it differently?
Yeah, I mean, there's no chance, is there? There's no chance. All of them
stayed
upright.
rules are rules, but how do you do that differently? I don't know.
Yeah. They've all stayed upright and they've avoided some cobbles as well. It's hard, this. Look, that group has split behind Ivan Cortina again. Just missing it. Squeen's missing it. And Asgreen still, look, not quite on the wheel yet.
Squeen's working hard. Garcia Cortina caught out. Livens rather like Taco Vonderhorn still surviving from the morning breakaway. Vonderhorn is in the chase, looking to try and chase down Christophe Laporte. And just before that incident, I was mentioning that Laporte is in the prime of his career now, isn't he? Late 20s. Top 10 in Paris-Roubaix last year. He's moved teams. They've been impressed enough with him. And Jumbo-Visma are one of the top teams in the world now. They have signed a very, very big rider. And I think we might see him kick on this year. Let's see.
Oh, I don't think these guys are going to come up. It's hovering still around 35 seconds, isn't it now?
Well, this is Kortrijk, by the way. A lot of riders will know this. This is where they usually stay for the classics. So, 35 seconds. This group through town now. A packed Kortrijk, centre of the Flemish Ardennes. Look at these crowds. This is wonderful to see. That almost wasn't wonderful to see, but thankfully everybody stayed upright again. There's some tired legs out there, aren't there?
This will work in favour of the breakaway as well. These tight roads going through the town, the peloton isn't going to be gaining anything on them. That's the beauty with Belgium, twists and turns left and right. If you're a chasing peloton, you can only go so fast through corners. You're not going to gain anything. You need quite big, long stretches of highway to be able to do so, but you're not going to be able to do it. And look at the speed everyone's going, just taking as many risks, trying to get as close as he can back into that group as possible. But as I just said, it's not easy on these Belgian roads. Smaller group again, Rob.
Nathan Verhooydonk, Damien Touzé, Taco Vonderhorn, Stefan Kung, alongside Christophe Laporte, Matteo Trentin, Kesper Asgreen. There's a lot of looking around still in that group. A lot of looking around.
Joe's ridden very cleverly in this group is Narvaez so far. Very cleverly indeed. Just sat there waiting. You don't necessarily see him at the front responding to things when he needs to, but ultimately pushing other riders to do so. And I've always said it within breakaways, the best way you get anything out of a breakaway is that to get the best out of yourself, you've got to get the best out of everyone else first. You need to force them to do the work. You've got to use them before you start using your own energy. And if you can do that, you're going to be in with the best chance. And he is doing it brilliantly so far. That is unless you out Van Aert, and then you can just do what you want.
He did that yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wow, that was special on the Bosberg.
Horwich now, Mohoric coming to the front, so an extra firepower and some rather large firepower coming to the front if he's decided to get working.
And riders in front and behind. Sonny Colbrelli just behind. Phil Bauhaus is still there as well. It's a mega strong Bahrain victorious team, this.
Yeah.
Led by a new sports director, the Classics this year, man who used to work with Peter Sagan. Enrico Poitschke is now working for Bahrain Victorious. As the three strugglers and stragglers get back on. Garcia Cortina, Livens and Squinch. Narvaez looks behind to see them on his back wheel. Just under 30 seconds now, 21.5 kilometres to go. We're not far from a passage at the finish line, by the way. That comes, I think, with around 12.5 k's to go.
They've eased off again, though, haven't they? Look, you can all see them looking at each other. That's why the gap's going down, because they've backed off. They're not committing fully to it. The only time this gap extends or descends is through accelerations or decelerations. This group is not riding at a constant tempo. No one wants to do more work. You can see them all across the road. No, you go in, no, you go in. And look, they are just behind them.
It's a nervous watch, this. Touch and goes to whether they will catch them or not. For those of you who've been away watching the commercial break, I can tell you that there's a little bit more of a slow up in the front group again. We've been through Kortrijk. We're now on our way to Kuurne. We'll do a lap around Harelbeke, yes, of A3 press frame. And we'll be back
Colbrelli
in Kuurne for the
Rob,
finish.
sorry.
Now Colbrelli does ride, so it looks as though Bauhaus is the plan.
Yep, it's got to be Bauhaus if Colbrelli's riding. He's obviously not feeling great after yesterday's effort, so trying to help his team. But I guarantee it, there has got to be an attack from that front group coming shortly. They can't just sit there and roll along and be caught, especially with this man riding on the front. Not that he's any stronger than any other rider, but they are putting big strength in numbers into the front of this group now to bring this back.
And the big effort being made is because now it's below 20 seconds. They know they're gaining. They can make a big effort here and have the race all together again. They're riding with a tailwind right now, as you see the flags flutter behind. And Sonny Colbrelli, winner of Paris-Roubaix last year, is giving his all for his teammates after they did the same for him yesterday. Yeah, 16 seconds, and here's your attack. It's Fred Wright. Touzé is with him. The response is going to come from Nathan Verhooydonk in the yellow.
Yeah, there's got to be a counter now. There's got to be a counter. I mean, it's too close for them. They're not going to stay away now, so riders might accept it. They might not. They might try something again, but ultimately they're not going anywhere. Look at them. They're going to come into sight. They are right on them.
We're 6 kilometres away from our first passage to the finish line in Kuurne before that lap around the Harelbeke, and they return to the place where they started. Lotto Soudal have not won this race for 22 years. At the minute, they're on their way to setting up an opportunity to Caleb Ewan to sprint for the prize. 8 seconds now. Inside the final 20 Ks.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. Look, you can tell all the riders within this group that their opportunities for also attacking have almost gone now. They're in that sort of horrible distance where they're so close to being caught that if they attack again, it's sort of that realisation that, oh, we should have just all rode flat out to keep this away. But with obviously Fred Wright, with Bahrain and Phil Bauhaus behind chasing, he's not going to commit to it or follow that. So the other riders in the breakaway don't just want Fred Wright sat on the back of a group doing nothing. There's so many aspects to it where you look at it and you question, why haven't you done that? And there is always an answer for it generally. But yeah, they are right on them. I can't see these riders going anywhere.
It's going to be done. It's going to be dusted. Let's have a look.
Huge
cheer from the sides of the road as Van Hooydonk makes his move. That's been the big takeaway of the day for me. The fans are back, the people having the experience. The riders cheered on from meters away. It's brilliant to see.
Again, Jumbo-Visma riders. That looks like Laporte going on the attack, is it? But yeah, these riders are going to be caught very, very shortly indeed. A fast circuit this as well around Kortrijk, very fast.
And you were doing a little bit of looking into what might happen with a potential sprint earlier on. The wind changes direction, doesn't it, on the last corner?
Yeah, they've got...
the riders change direction into the wind.
They've got a very long straight. Laporte, crikey, he's strong, isn't he? I mean, this is a brilliant effort. Taco van der Hoorn trying to get on terms with Narvaez. We spoke about him earlier, Rob, just picking the right move to go with. And once again, sat on the back, picked that move he wants to go with. But you can see that gap just tethering, almost caught, not quite caught. But yeah, the finishing straight is you have about a 3.5, 4 kilometre stretch where in the past we've seen so much head crosswind, which makes it very difficult for the sprinters. But they've got it's more of a tailwind than a cross tailwind, so I don't think the wind is going to affect it too much, and then turning into a headwind finish. So timing, lead out men, positioning, and especially we mentioned the circuit, how fast it is. Positioning is key around this circuit. Look, you can see the roads left, right, up, down. It's very fast, so being at the front is crucial if you're the likes of Caleb Ewan, Jakobsen.
Narvaez, Laporte, Van der Hoorn, they need, as well as a bit of a miracle here, a lot of hesitation behind, but they're giving it a go. Askreen is trying to come across with Wright.
Yeah. Once again,
but behind
Askreen.
they're almost back together.
Yeah. They are all back together now. That group's being caught. 3 riders out the front, 2 in the middle. Fred Wright, obviously, he's had a little bit of an easier ride. He's still going to feel it in his legs, obviously, but a little bit easier. And look, just gaps being opened up again. Mohoric just letting that gap go to the European champion, Sonny Colbrelli, slotting in, letting the other riders do the work.
It's been a brilliant Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne. As you were remarking earlier, it rarely isn't a brilliant Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne, but, you know, for a race where we've got the final climb well over 50 k's from the finish, it continues to be absolutely fascinating in a tactical sense. And we've got flat roads, the sun's shining. Can't say that the weather's doing too much to affect things. It's just pure racing. It's brilliant.
Brilliant, brilliant race. And this is what I love Belgium. This is why I love it. It could be a sprint. It might not be a sprint. There's opportunities in there to attack, go on the attack. It's fantastic, and I love it. The riders that you'd never really see get on the front and attack. When do you see Sonny Colbrelli riding on the front? You'd never really see him riding on the front. It's brilliant.
That's why we love the classics, the different names to the fore. So, Askren is caught, Fred Wright is caught. 2 great rides, and Fred Wright, well, his development continues apace. Absolutely superb from the British rider today for Bahrain, victorious. Here's Taco Fodderhorn on his wheel, the former Ecuadorian national champion, Jonathan Narvaez, and the new French signing for the Dutch team, 3rd wheel in the yellow, Christophe Laporte. But they've a handful of seconds on those chasing, and the chase is being led still by Alpecin Phoenix. That's because Tim Merlier is here to try and sprint for them.
Narvaez is there again, same situation as last year, almost identical out the front, you know, 80k to go, following that Van der Poel attack and putting himself again in that situation where it's not 2k to go, they're getting caught, but out the front with 2 other riders, very, very similar to last year.
3k's to get to the finish line. So take a look at this run in here. This is what the riders will see on their way in. Colbrelli continues to work. At the front, by the way, it's Frederic Frison. He's riding for Lotto Soudal. And now Jumbo-Visma change plan. And I imagine they're going to look to David Dekker as soon as Christophe Laporte is caught, if he is caught. That's assuming that Dekker is there. He's the other fast man in the team. Young rider. Looking down at Nizzolo and Ewan towards the back. There's Krek van Avermaet as well. Peter Sagan.
Dan McLean there as well, Arkea Samsic.
Well, they've got several fast finishers, haven't they? They've got Hofstetter as well as Capio as well. Yeah. I know that his father had as I said right at the top of the broadcast, a great relationship with opening weekend. A couple of times winner of the Omloop het Nieuwsblad.
You've had a lot of riders riding on the front from different teams now, so it's a case of the riders that have been working hard, they're not going to have a lot left to ride on the front for much longer, so you're going to have to run that risk of using men up that you don't necessarily want to do, like we've seen with Bahrain already, with Sonny Colbrelli, a fantastic lead-out man, obviously doesn't want to get too involved for the safety of it. This
is the left turn you were talking about, Adam, onto the finish straight.
Yep. This is it now. It's about 500, 600 metres from that last corner. Just see, it's a long straight down to finish, dips, slowly goes downhill and then just drags ever so slightly, not a lot up to the finish line, but I think, you know, if there are attacks going to go as well from in that peloton, you've got the town of Kortrijk, which we've seen already very briefly. The roads are narrow, the roads are tight, so this breakaway here, they're riding into a headwind now, a little bit of a cross headwind. When they go into the town, that peloton is not going to gain much on them through the corners, through the twists and turns. There's only really like an 8k stretch of road which they can bring that time back, which is obviously very long indeed, but wouldn't surprise me if these get caught. We see more attacks come from the peloton, the chances.
Bell rings, laatste rond, the final lap. And it's a handful of seconds for Narvaez, Van der Hoorn, Laporte as they head into the final lap. The Paris-Roubaix winner, second place yesterday on Omloop het Nieuwsblad. Sonny Colbrelli burying himself for his Bahrain victorious teammates. As we see at the back here, Alexander Kamp, 115 just in front of him is Antonio Puccio. He, we imagine, will be working for Giacomo Nizzolo. Will it be a sprint, though? Will there be a miraculous hold-off of those behind? 11 seconds. We've already given credit to this man, but a reminder for those maybe tuning in late that Taco van der Hoorn was in the morning breakaway. He survived all the moves, all of the breakups, and he's still here.
Yeah, standard Taco, isn't it, really? This is what he's brilliant at. Quick step on the front now. Now you've seen they brought Asgreen back. The riders that they've been able to keep back within the peloton, let them have an easy ride. They've got onto the front now, try and control things. They've got Lotto Soudal got one rider on the front. You've got lead-out man for Caleb Ewan, who's just sat behind Jasper de Bois there. Alpecin Fenix, look, they're down to no riders now. They don't have any riders to bring this back on the front. 12 seconds. That gap is going up, as we spoke about, and this is what I mentioned. The riders that have been riding on the front already, how much firepower is left within one team? How much recovery do they want to give a lead-up man? Riders that have been riding to help with positioning. It's a very fine juggle. We see Sonny Cobrelli on the front. If he keeps riding on the front, he is no longer going to be able to help in the lead-out. They've had Mohoric riding on the front already. How much energy is he going to have left to do a lead-out as well? So this is not over yet.
12 kilometers to go. 12 seconds is the gap. Heading from Kuurne to Kortrijk, then to Harelbeke, and back into Kuurne for the same finish we've just seen. That approach from the side, the 90-degree turn to the left, and the long finish straight. Fabio Jakobsen sits at the back of a three-man train.
You see riders more coming up. Alpecin Fenix coming up. Another rider from Lotto Soudal coming up. The worry, the panic has started already.
Seneschal up there as well.
Jakobsen moving up on the left-hand side behind Asgreen, look.
Now, what position does he take up here? He's with his teammates. You mentioned Seneschal in there as well. Lompard, left-hand side.
Hayter moving up with Trentin on his wheel as well. Good to see Hayter getting to the front. He just needs his team around him to keep him at the front now.
Oliver Naassen being put into position as well for AG2R Citroën. At the front, it's down to 10 seconds now. Jonathan Narvaez of Ecuador. Taco van der Hoorn from the Netherlands. Christophe Laporte is the Frenchman here in the yellow jersey, racing for the Dutch team Jumbo-Visma. Victorious yesterday with Wout van Aert. Everybody who missed out is looking to try and get one over them. Teams who we didn't see in action towards the front in the finale yesterday doing that. There's Bora Hansgrohe on the right-hand side trying to move riders up. Remember, we know that their sprinter Jordi Meus was suffering yesterday. Bora Hansgrohe at the moment moving Jonas Koch up on the right. There's Tom Pidcock, who's been on the attack. Behind Jumbo-Visma, they wait to see what happens out front.
They've got Mike Teunissen in there as well, don't forget. A very, very fast sprinter, lead-out man for Wout van Aert in the Tour de France. So someone into a headwind sprint, very capable, you know, if he can get the timing right, use that sort of long-range power, which doesn't necessarily favour a headwind sprint, but not being sheltered from another wheel in front, you've been able to hold on to that high power. It's very good for him. You can see, as we just mentioned, moving up now on the right-hand side with Tiesj Benoot third wheel.
I'm just looking whether David Dekker's there as well. Teunissen, I think, is the man who's being put into position, though. Didn't see Dekker. Teunissen, talk of sprints, he's won some pretty good ones, hasn't he? Tour de France, remember, stage 1, Brussels. Uphill again after the crash and the chaos. He pulled on the yellow jersey at the end of that day.
Why is Tiesj riding?
12 seconds.
Why is Benoot coming towards the front there? Oh, my gosh.
Well, they've ridden the wrong way. They've ridden the wrong way. Oh, my word.
That was interesting. Benoot came to the front, though. They've got Christophe Laporte in the front. They just need to sit back. They don't need to help on the front. They just sit back away. I mean, that corner's ideal for Laporte there, but not ideal for them. But it's an interesting tactic that you see that Tiesj Benoot on the right, going to go right, and it, oh, no, yep, this way. Oh, right, yeah, that's wrong. But it's interesting that he's gone up to the front to try and help when he's got a teammate out the front. You can sit back,
maybe, devil's advocate here, Adam, were they maybe not just guarding position at the front, making sure that if these guys are caught, the man that they want to have a go with, perhaps Teunissen, is in the right position?
I think so, yeah, but I don't think there's any need to ride right towards the front like that, you know. I think bringing a teammate back that the gap is only just going up again with, there's no need to ride in the front. If you want to disturb it a little bit and get in the way, fair enough, understandable, but there's no need for them to be in the top 3, 4, 5. No need, I don't think.
14 seconds. biggest it's been for this group, this gap now. 9 kilometers to go. Well, you said that the corners in the towns wouldn't help the peloton behind, and we saw a great example of that there, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, through this town, you haven't got enough room or road in it to accelerate out of. You have got room to accelerate out of corners, but take time back through the corners, through small roads. The peloton stringing out. There's going to be a fight for positioning. So you don't want to make a larger sprint if you're positioned too far back. You don't want to have to sprint out the corners more than what the first 10 riders are doing to, and that's why we saw Jakobsen moving up.
Yeah, and look at the effort they're all having to make now, those who missed out. They still haven't got back to the front. Those who missed out on the corner are having to make a huge effort on the right-hand side just to get in touch again. Jumbo-Visma split up into 2 groups. Bora Hansgrohe, who followed them, as we now see the Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl train moving to the front.
Yep, got Caleb Ewan moving up with his teammate Jasper de Busch. You got Phil Bauerhaus in there as well. Mohoric just sat behind him. Tish Benoot again coming back to the front. 4
riders now from AG Desert Citroën. Stan de Wolf, your old teammate, is one of them as well, Adam.
Degenkolb in there as well. Is that from DSM up towards the front? Ineos with 3 riders to help Ethan Hayter. You got Ben Turner moving up on the left-hand side. But look, still 13 seconds.
It's tense, it's tight, it's on a knife edge here. 7.5 kilometers remain in Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne. 4 seconds are chopped off though. Look at this turn at the front for Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl. One of the few opportunities they can really gain time back at them on one of these rare straight roads.
It is, yeah, but how much then are they going to have left for the lead out? How many more riders? You see a lot of Soudal rider there moving right across. His job's done. He can no longer give any more. So this gap, 10 seconds, they brought it back 3 seconds. Don't forget these riders will play a little bit at the finish. They will play, so that will reduce that time gap. They can't afford to do it, the riders. Another Quick-Step rider coming off the front, Asgreen again. He's having a very good day.
That was Steinle on the right-hand side, Yannick Steinle. Jesper Asgreen still giving more, as you can see. We can see Fabio Jakobsen just popping his head out on the left-hand side there. Clément Rousseau not far behind him. Cher is the rider who's trying to keep the train that belongs to AG Desert Citroën in position behind. He's got Oliver Naassen on his wheel. I think that Alex Aramburu is still there as well for Movistar. So Ivan Garcia Cortines doing his best to try and keep him in position.
And look behind Asgreen, you've got Cobrelli there. Then you've got Yves Lampard. You've got another rider, Steve. No, it's not Steve Barr. Steve Barr's been dropped. But the firepower that they've still got to ride on the front is monumental. But look at the scramble together front. Caleb Ewan right at the bottom of the century screen. Ethan Hayter just following that wheel. Brian Coquard from Cofidis on the left wing. Mohoric moving up. Don't forget we've got Christoph in there as well. Christoph, but they do not want to push that tempo at the front. They don't want to encourage riders. 9
talk
seconds
about who might
still.
be left. Who might be left for the lead out? The man who you expect to do the lead out here would be the man from France, wouldn't it? Sénéchal. He's sat just in front of Jakobsen as they go into this left-hand turn. 9 seconds with 6 kilometers to go for Narvaez of Ineos Grenadiers. Van der Horn from Intermarché, Wanty Gobert, Laporte, who belongs to Jumbo-Visma nowadays, the team that won on the opening day yesterday, with Wout van Aert, who will be at home watching on the sofa and enjoying what he's seeing, I think, at the minute.
Yeah, it will be indeed. This is good things to come. Look at the speed through the roundabout. They are going full gas.
And tailwind down this section. Laporte, he's leaving them behind. Van der Horn's having to fight just to hold the wheel here. They are riding brilliantly today. It's a lion-like performance. They've got so much heart, plenty of power, and Laporte is having a stunning debut for Jumbo-Visma.
Unreal. I mean, Taco van der Horn, you saw him all over the bike, just trying to get as much power out as he can. Has Narvaez come past him? No, he hasn't come past him. So Taco still that big effort and just being able to roll through. This is what you talked about, Rob. He's so good at being in that red zone for so long.
Well, Lampard now on the front, but the problem here is that Jakobsen has his lead-out man second wheel. He might have to go all alone in the sprint.
Yeah, you can see Jakobsen just placed behind Christoph. And behind him, you've got Phil Bauhaus, AG2R riders. With them in between there, you've got obviously Seneschal that's going to do that turn. But then once he's finished, unless anyone moves up, which they will obviously, but unless they do, there's going to be a little lull. Still at 9 seconds, that acceleration from Leblanc, just keeping that gap stable.
I can see you all at home cheering for the breakaway here. They are still out there. 4.7 kilometres to go. 9 seconds. It's not budging. It ain't shifting. They're still in front.
Lampard, just a quick look over his shoulder and seeing who's behind him. You can see more riders riding up. A rider on the left-hand side. Cobrelli, again, look, moving up, realising that, what is Jumbo-Visma doing? Come on, do not ride
surely
on the
they're
front.
they're trying to spoil this. Surely they're trying to spoil this. Look, they go to the front. There was no big... And they're playing Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl at their own game from this very race a few years ago.
Yeah, they are indeed. I wondered what they were doing then. But see Caleb Ewan just stuck in the middle there. Tim Malia in front of him. Caleb just trying to hang on to his lead-out man.
Well, that's
Job's done.
That is
Job's done.
Job done for Askren and for Steinle.
10 seconds, Rob. It's not coming back. It's not coming back, and the firepower is running out. This is what we spoke about, the likes of Cobrelli riding on the front for so long. How much left has he got into a tank? How much can he keep going for? All the riders are on the limit. They want to try and keep a few back just in case to try and bring this back, and they don't want to commit them too early, so the sprinters are left alone.
And this is Seneschal now at the front because Lampard is done for the day and only Fabio Jakobsen remains for Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl a little further back. This is Florian Seneschal, who was in the team to do the lead-out for Fabio Jakobsen, wasting every last little sinew of energy. And behind those in yellow, they're just trying to slow it down.
Yeah, they're just getting in the way. Once Seneschal's done, that's it, 11 seconds. I don't think that gap is quite right. It looks closer on the camera than it always is, but still 3.4k to go, 10 seconds. It's been like this for the past 8k.
And this is where the wind's going to come from the side. This is a big key period now coming up in this race. It's the road that goes in towards that left turn, isn't it? Yeah. They turn around here, and then it's that road.
Tailwind as well now. Look who's on the front. Jumbo-Visma, slow it down, slow it right down. There you go. Look at the speed through the corner. Nice and easy. No stress, no acceleration. I can't believe the other teams are not aware of it. I know there's not a lot left of them, but they need to move up. They need to react quickly. That's another 2 seconds that breakaway's gained just through that one corner.
And you could see that. The one rider is actually pedalling at the front through the corner there. Went 10 bike lengths in front because the rest were just freewheeling. And that's it. Relax. Calm it down. Jumbo-Visma doing a sterling job here as Caleb Ewan moves up. Again, not too many men around him.
You can see
that Lampard's trying to move back. Lampard's trying to get back.
Trying to do more work on the front because they know they're slowing it down a little bit at the front. I saw Mohoric moving to the front there. Just in third wheel. Everyone wants to save a lead-out man. Everyone wants as many people as they can to try and do the lead-out. You've got Ethan Hayter moving up on the left-hand side. You've got Trentin just towards the front, in front of him in the middle.
There's a lot of poker being played, isn't there? A lot of teams waiting to the very last minute to commit. And one of those teams has come to the front now, Israel Premier Tech, who are trying their best to bring this back in the dying embers of this very race. 2 kilometres to go for Giacomo Nizzolo. But they need to bring back 8 seconds. Let's have a look at this real gap. And they're still in off-road. They're still in off-road. There's empty road in front. Oh, they're pulling up, and they can see the Flamme Rouge up ahead now. All 3 of them. Narvaez at the front. Just behind him in the yellow, it's Laporte. And at the back, it's Cycle van der Hoorn, who we will remind you one last time has been out there since the morning breakaway in this 74th edition of Kuurne Brussels Kuurne that's turning out to be one of the very best we've ever seen.
Yeah, they can't wait now to the finish. Just about to come under 1k to go. Not far to go, but the lead-out trains still haven't started. They need to start soon. They cannot wait any longer in this. The breakaway riders, they can't play around either. That gap was a lot bigger than 7 seconds. We've just not seen the proper lead-out start. You can still see behind just waiting. No one wants to put the nose in the wind first.
So van der Hoorn, they look around. Don't look back, guys. Don't look back. You've got it in your hands. Narvaez, Laporte and van der Hoorn, but they're closing in. They can see them. 1 kilometre to go, 1,000 metres, 6 seconds. Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne. Will it be the breakaway or will it be a sprint? They start to get organised. They are flying. Look at the difference in the speed in the two groups, Adam.
Yeah, it is monumental. Now the lead-out train's coming up to front. I'm trying to see AG2R on the right, on the front there. You've got Ineos Grenadiers on the right-hand side. Ethan Hayes moving up. You've got Jakobsen trying to push Tim Melier out the way on the right-hand side. Caleb Ewan with his lead-out man moving up on the left, just his lead-out man. This is going to be close.
Niels Eekhoff up there as well for DSN, the final left turn as they come into that headwind. Remember, you have to know where to time
Caleb
it.
Ewan, Caleb Ewan
is there as we see Taco Van der Hoorn looking around on the right. As we look at it now, there's still a bit of a distance. Just a few hundred metres to go with Trek Segafredo trying to put their men in as well. They're going to the line, and the line is getting closer. Behind, they have to reach them. It's going to be very, very late if they do it. Laporte looks around. They don't know when to go. When's that final dash going to come? They're going to catch them, are they? Oh, they are. It's going to be heartbreak, I think. Laporte starts his sprint, though. Laporte starts his sprint. It's Narvaez who's been dropped. Jakobsen now behind as well. Laporte still in front. Laporte still in front, but it's heartbreak. It's heartbreak. Jakobsen's there. Look on the right as Ewan comes as well. Oh, my word. What a finish at Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne. It's Fabio Jakobsen with his arms in the air, but I want to see that one again. Has it been a bounce back? They talked about a wake-up call yesterday. Oh, Fabio Jakobsen left it very late to wake up. He's the man we're looking at. What a race. What a race. And what a start to the classic season. Fabio Jakobsen thinks he's won. Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl get the congratulations. It was Laporte who started his sprint naturally. Narvaez the first to be dropped. He gets a pat on the back. Heartbreak for the breakaway. Fabio Jakobsen wins Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne. Caleb Ewan finishes second. And we have seen something very, very special. Adam Blythe, let's pack up, go home. The rest of the season won't be anything close to that.
I mean, I've not seen a finish like that close for that long. That was absolutely nailed by him, wasn't it, coming down to line. And even with Caleb running at the line, I wasn't sure he got it. He did, but luckily for Jakobsen, this is a replay. You can see Laporte looking over, just waiting. Taco Van der Hoorn, he starts his sprint, but the speed Jakobsen's going on the right-hand side, getting that slipstream, running at the wheel a little bit. Dan McClay, another teammate just in front of him. And this is a point Caleb Ewan just tries to sneak past him on the line, but just cannot get there. Super strong sprint and quick step. Thank God you had Jakobsen there.
All that work paid off. Wow. That was Hugo Hofstetter, by the way, the faster finisher from Arkea Samsic. And, well, there was, I think, the real justification that what we should always see, the overhead picture, because it looked a lot closer on the head-on picture than it actually was. Jakobsen, he was every right to have his arm in the air there. He was the clear winner, I think, over Caleb Ewan. And look at that from Yves Lampaert. All of the work he did. It looked like it was late, but every single pedal stroke, every last watt counted there, Adam.
It did indeed. You see why I like Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne? Brilliant. It was nailed by, so they went all that down to the line and only caught that breakaway from the last 50 metres. Out all day for Taco Van der Hoorn, and then just to be caught, as I said, last 50 metres. Absolutely brilliant, but Jakobsen, do you know what I loved about that more than anything is the sprinters, no lead outs, no nothing, just waiting, trying to do it on their own. And you get criticised a lot, the sprinters, for, oh, they only do it because they've got the best lead out in the world. That was just pure sprinting. The way that Caleb Ewan had to move from, I said at that last corner, he must have been 30th position, 25th position, and he got himself right onto Jakobsen's wheel and then was able to sprint, got second, but fair play to this man. I mean, leaving it right at the last minute. We never really saw him all day within our camera shots.
Wake-up call, said Patrick Lefevre. The alarm went off in the final few hundred metres there for Fabio Jakobsen. 5th win of the season for him, for his team, the biggest so far. Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne goes to Jakobsen and Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl.
Ik jumpte al, ik zag de streep al, dus ik weet eigenlijk, ik weet zeker dat ik won. En met een halve fiets denk ik.
Oof. Manneke.
Maar
Wow.
nee, dan zit ik vol met verzuring en als er dan iemand net aan
That was something very special.
Ja,
Yeah,
nee, dank u wel. Sorry.
absolutely brilliant. Just trying to listen to the Flemish here.
Dat is ook de adrenaline. Ja, ik begrijp het. Excuses.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry meneer.
That's all I got. I mean, this finish here, look, you can see Nizzolo moving on the right-hand side, starting his sprint. Jakobsen starting Caleb Ewan just having that brief freewheel, but Jakobsen running at the ride as well, using that slipstream absolutely brilliantly. Caleb Ewan didn't start his sprint until now, so leaving it very, very late indeed with a headwind finish, but just leaving it a little bit too late maybe, but Jakobsen, just brilliant to see doing it on his own. There's no lead-outs there, apart from Arkea Samsek, who they couldn't decide who was sprinting by the looks of things. But Jakobsen, as I said, just finding his own way, threading his way through the peloton. The same with Caleb Ewan as well. Bauhaus in the background, slamming his handlebars. Tim Malia, a few places back. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant race. I loved it. Oh!
Oh, the next 6 weeks have got something to live up to, haven't they? Welcome to the Classics. And what a way for the fans to return this weekend. Wout van Aert, the local hero yesterday. Fabio Jakobsen, the fastest of the sprinters, when it looked as though he might not even have a sprint. Oh, wow. Considering what's just happened, that's perhaps the most understated conversation in the whole world at the minute. Wow.
Just trying to listen to it, to what they're saying.
So it's strong. January was...
Let's talk about January training camp by the sounds of things.
Here's the result, Adam. Fabio Jakobsen is the winner of Kuurne, Brussels-Kuurne after quite the finish. Caleb Ewan finishes second. Hugo Hofstetter is third. Dan McLeay is fourth, with Giacomo Nizzolo fifth. Van Hestel, Capiot, Laporte, Trentin and Van der Hoorn, as well as all the excitement. One other takeaway here is that there are 3 riders from Arkea Samsic in the top 7.
Yeah, just need to work on the lead out a little bit. I think with 3 riders in there, they definitely should have taken that up. The only problem is 3 of them are very quick and very... The difference between a sprinter and a lead out man is very, very different indeed. And maybe the more all of them lean a little bit more.